What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite boy from Philly, Tony Enos, singer, songwriter, producer, and truth seeker. Welcome to Journey to Spirit, Pragmatic Reflections for Modern Spirituality. Before we go any further, I would like to give you a disclaimer that I am not a licensed therapist or a therapist of any kind. I speak on behalf of no establishment, no church, no religion, no particular community. I would just like to share with you my spiritual journey and what has brought me spiritual health and filled my spirit with joy and good medicine. One of the reasons I wanted to start this series was because we are enduring one of the biggest mental health crises in history. A 2021 prevalence data report showed that over 47 million Americans are dealing with mental illness, and over 12 million individuals in the United States have had serious thoughts of suicide. Over the COVID-19 journey of the past 2 years, we've seen the effects of isolation. So why do we continue to carry the mental conditioning that would have us believe that anyone is separate or better or more important than the other? Today's topic is awareness. I have structured this series in a way where one episode builds on another. So this being the first episode is really building a strong foundation. And I want you to think for a second of yourself, maybe at 8 years old. And then think of yourself maybe at 12 years old. And then at 18 years old. All different bodies, right? You grew into different bodies, but what was present that whole time? What was the common thread in all of those bodies? Your awareness. And I think in spirit, that's all we really are, is awareness. The universe is filled with awareness and possibility. We are the universe manifesting through a human body. But the building block of spirituality for me really has been knowing what I truly am. And so I think for all of us, knowing who and what we truly are is quintessential to freeing ourselves and liberating ourselves from any experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, of this world. What we really are is a spirit having a physical experience. That is really the truth and the cornerstone of living in spirit, knowing that you are a spirit first that happens to have a mind and a body. And it's really great when all things work together for the common good, but for every worldly problem, there's a spiritual solution. And I think that's the really important thing to remember, and to live a life in a way where we are plugged in to our spirit and we're really able to practice awareness. The world is set up in such an interesting way. And when we think of our levels of consciousness in the world, there's really three common levels of consciousness. The first is ego consciousness. It is healthy for us all to have some level of ego, some level of boundaries, and some level of standards for how we'd like to be treated by others. A healthy level of self-awareness. Excuse me. The issue comes when we let our ego wreak havoc and make us think that we are separate or better than everybody else. We're all kindled from that one flame, that one universal mind. We're all connected to it. We're connected to all things at all times. The second level of consciousness is what we call group or tribal consciousness, where your view of the world and people around you is really skewed through the lens of the views of the people or your tribe or community or friends or family or people that you hold close to you. Their views become your views. Third is what we call God or universal consciousness, where we really realize that separateness is an illusion. When we live in spirit, we realize that we are connected to the universal mind. And we all come from the same place, realizing that all life is precious, all life matters, all life is important. Awareness is not ignorance. You can be aware that we all come from the same place, but then you are also aware of the effects of colonization, the effects of occupations, the effects of nationalism, racism, sexism, bigotry. We're aware of all these things, right? We're aware of these systems. We're aware of these establishments. So here are some solutions for walking in spirit and cultivating your awareness. One is acknowledging the mental conditioning that we've all received. Think of when a baby first starts to see the world after they're born. One of the first things they see is their hand. To a baby, this is color and shape and there's really no story attached to it. Even the word hand is an English word that speaks to a particular experience. A baby has no idea that this is a hand, that it grabs things, that it's used to hit someone, that it's used to inflict violence on others, that it builds houses and cities and nations. They just see shapes and colors. That brings us to our second point. You are not your experiences. You are the observer of those experiences. Just as you're experiencing me right now through YouTube and I'm experiencing the camera on my phone, life and the world around us and the world as we know it is an experience in our awareness. This realization frees you from the weight of any negative experiences you've ever had. And you realize that you could either choose to carry the weight of the trauma forward and have that dictate the quality of your life and the rest of your life, or you can choose to see it as it is, an experience that is behind you. Our third point, the past is the past. Not to be ignorant of the past, because those who ignore the past are doomed to repeat it, but not to be defined by the past, and not to have our future dictated by the past. There's a wonderful example of a boat. When a boat drives across the water, it leaves behind it a foamy wake. Do you think that that foamy wake could ever propel that boat forward? Of course not. The boat is propelled across the water by energy manifested in the engine in the moment. That wake that it leaves behind is exactly that, behind it. It could never drive the boat across the water. I acknowledge that there are many things in our world that may lead to our feelings of disempowerment. Our history of racial violence and oppression, and the hierarchical structure that was set in place by white supremacy to norm and other people who were viewed as less than human and or somebody else's property. Once again, the crucial piece of this is awareness. Once you're aware of all these things, you're also aware that you have a choice in what you're going to feed your mind. If you wanted to give away 6 oranges to someone in appreciation, you would have to be in possession of 6 oranges. You can't give away what you don't have. Fill yourself with good things. Your spirit is your responsibility. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Stand guard at the door of your spirit. And should you have a really negative experience with a really toxic person, don't let that energy stay too long. The limited understanding of other people is not your problem. Do not carry what is not yours to carry. Be aware that you teach people how to treat you. Be aware that it's important to set healthy boundaries. So in awareness of all the systems that are designed to divide and conquer us, we certainly can choose to be aware that we are all plugged into the universal mind. Nature goes to the same place to grow a tree that your mind goes to think a thought. That divine love is running through all of us at all times, and it's so important to be grateful for it. Your best life begins with gratitude. Be thankful for just waking up this morning. Be thankful for the sun that shines through that window. Be happy for the rain that you see falling through that window. If it didn't rain, you couldn't eat. And y'all know I like to eat cookies, fried chicken, pies, more chicken. By plugging into the universal mind and realizing that we are all connected at all times, we find the value not only in ourselves, but in everyone and everything around us. And once you find the value in yourself, you would never devalue another person, because you realize that devaluing another person is devaluing yourself. Being part of the universal mind, we realize that all there really is love. Everything else is a created reality. Establishments are created. Countries are created. Nations are created. Cultivate your awareness by getting out into the natural world where nature has the final say. Make room for silence every day. 5 minutes, 60 seconds, 15 minutes, an hour. It's not the notes that you love so much in your favorite music. It's the space between the notes that makes it your favorite music. Because if there were no space between the notes, there would be no music. It would really just be noise. Silence is the one and only voice of God, the divine creator, universal source. It's out of the nothingness, out of the void, that all good things come. Be aware of your own joy, and be aware that you are responsible for the decision to treat others well. This is the journey to spirit.